All right, so now we're on to a lunch or dinner dish that's high in protein, and this is actually a low carb dish as well. So if you're looking for something that's high in protein, lower in carbs, this is the perfect dish for you. Although we make it low carb with cauliflower rice, and you could always just use white rice or brown rice as well if you wanted to add a little bit of healthy carbs to it. So in this recipe, we have a 10-ounce bag of cauliflower rice, 3 cups of cottage cheese, a half cup of shredded cheese, a half cup of feta cheese, 2 cups of chicken, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, a half cup of hot sauce, and 1 egg. So we're gonna start by making the buffalo sauce, and this is a really creamy sauce because again, we use cottage cheese. And you could also use Greek yogurt for this. That would also work really well. So we're gonna add everything to a blender just like we did with our pasta. We're gonna make a creamy sauce and you won't even know that cottage cheese is in there. So I'm gonna have you add the hot sauce, egg, and the seasonings, and then I'll add the feta and the cottage cheese to the blender. And you wanna start with just cooked pulled chicken. So like rotisserie chicken or leftover chicken works well. So Caroline, we met actually through Instagram.
Yep.
And so it was like, what, 10 years that we met each
10
other?
years ago, I think we connected on Instagram.
Yeah, and so we actually never even met in person until I moved to Tennessee, and she reached out to me and she was like, hey, I think you're like 10 minutes away from me. And so she invited me to like a mom's group that she hosted, and I was like, oh my gosh, someone's inviting me to something. So I was so excited because I didn't know anybody here except for Caroline. And so one of the things that I love most is that we've been able to go on a lot of walks together.
Yes.
And on our walks, we've just talked about, oh gosh, everything under the sun. We usually run out of time before we run out of stuff to talk about. That's how you know it's a God friendship, is that you can just talk with someone. All right, so I'm gonna blend the sauce up.
You're making me a little nervous blending it without the top on.
Oh, we actually did. We got a spoon stuck one time and stuff flew everywhere.
This beautiful white
Yeah,
kitchen.
that happened.
That's funny.
All right, so now you can see how good that looks, nice and creamy. So we're gonna add it to our cauliflower rice, which we did thaw out in the microwave, but you could also just use, like I said, cooked rice in this dish as well. Caroline, why don't you share your story about like different seasons of life that have kind of been a struggle for you as well when it comes to just letting God really remind you of your beauty and your worth in Him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I think back to like college, I mean, just always wanting to be thinner, always chasing the next diet, like never feeling like it was enough, if that makes sense. Like always wanting a lower number and a lower number, like becoming so obsessed with the scale. And realizing that, you know, I had an intimate relationship with Jesus, but like I hadn't really invited Him into that area of my life. I was kind of compartmentalizing things. And for the first time, just really starting to pray like, Lord, help me to be disciplined with my workouts. Help me to be disciplined with nourishing my body well. And it was just kind of like this, you know, moment where it clicked. And then heading into, I mean, I'm sure you experienced this, like when we were getting married, like me and my husband, like preparing for the wedding and the pressure that comes with that of like looking good in your dress and all the things and feeling that pressure from culture.
Yeah.
And then, so I think there's like been different seasons, and then getting into like motherhood. I mean, I've had 3 babies now, and with each one, kind of feeling that pressure to bounce back, specifically with my first one.
Yeah.
And experiencing like, no, like, that's not what it's about anymore. And I think a lot of it was just laying it at the feet of Jesus and allowing Him to fill those holes in my heart.
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, pursuing fitness as a way to steward my body well and serve my family.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell people, I'm like, you want to take care of your body like it depends on you, but know that ultimately it doesn't.
Yeah, that's
you know,
so good.
like it's that's what surrendering it looks like.
Yeah, that's so good. And I'll tell you, I think one of the hardest is, just like you said, when you get married, there's so much pressure from our culture to look like perfection in your wedding dress. But really, you know, if we think about what marriage really is and like what a holy union, like it really is not about that at all.
Oh, absolutely.
And then again, with motherhood, like there's so much pressure to look a certain way and like bounce back. And like you said, with my first, that was the same as me. I just like felt all this pressure. And then I realized with Ollie that I missed so much of her being a baby because I was so worried about me. You know? And so I just fully embraced his baby,
Yes.
you know, the baby year. And I was like, I'm just not even gonna worry about me. And God took care of me, you know? When I laid down, just like you said, surrender. When I laid down myself and my body and my wants and desires, that was when God really taught me what was most important and ultimately took care of me, you know?
Absolutely.
So this looks so good, doesn't it? And it's not even
amazing.
baked yet. So when it's baked, it's gonna be so good. And we're gonna top it with cheese. You could do mozzarella or cheddar, whatever kind of cheese you like. So we're gonna bake it 425 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes.